Probably be one of the most viewed YouTube videos for the week.
I think so, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say
Oh,
time,
infinite, okay.
at least this week.
All right, Beth, you're on.
Hey, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Beth Colosimo. We are at the mill and it is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. This is Bagels in Business. Welcome to all of you in cyberspace, wherever you are, having your morning coffee, your oatmeal. We're going to kick off the morning from the mill. Again, I'm Beth Colosimo. I'm the Executive Director. I run the entrepreneurship activities here at Miller Campus. So today, Dr. Rick Brown, is going to be talking to us about how to rebrand and look differently at your brand. He is our Veteran Business Resource Center manager, and he counsels, advises, coaches different business owners, primarily who are veterans or family members of veterans. So he is also an expert on numerous topics and speaks for us and does a lot of teaching. He came to us, about a year and a half ago out of Kentucky, recruited him all the way across the country, and he is now a full-fledged Utah, we like to say. So, kick it off, Rick. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Beth. I appreciate it. We're going to be talking about branding here today. The idea of branding has changed. And I'm going to step out of the screen so you don't need to see me. It's a new branding approach that we have today. The way this thing has evolved or taken off here recently is just phenomenal. But in order to look and see where we are today, I believe that we need to look at history, because those that do not know history, as they say, are doomed to repeat it, or you're going to be stuck in it. I remember teaching a MBA class back in the University of Bellarmine, where I was asked to sub for a marketing class. And when I went into this marketing class, first off, I noticed there was a textbook. And now this is an MBA program, and I tended to teach in those programs with more current information, not relying on textbooks. But this particular textbook only had a very small section devoted to the internet. And I thought, well, I threw the book away. I told everybody we were not going to use it, that marketing was now something more of social media and relying on digital media more than print. So this is something that I think we have to focus on, the constant change, the awareness that every year, every day, things are changing. The one thing that I do want to get across before we go into this is, when you're talking about branding and marketing, you're trying to reach your consumer. The way you reach your consumer is by understanding who that person is or who they are. There's a human element to building your brand. And if you ignore that human element, you're going to be building something without talking to your customer, without understanding what they want and what motivates them. Now, there's a acronym MAP, which talks about the motivation for everyone, is mastery, autonomy, and this idea of purpose. You have to capture that in order to move forward and get your brand recognized or to build it. And first off, let me back up and say, it is not easy to build brand. You have companies out there that are spending millions and millions of dollars every year to get you to buy their product. Now, how do they do that? It is the feeling, and we'll get into this. It is the feeling they create inside the customer. This is what you're striving for when you're striving to brand. So again, the human element is the key thing. People process information a certain way, and you have to recognize this when you're building brand or building your marketing platform. You have to understand how we process information and how you're going to get noticed, how you will stand out. Because we talked about, with the business canvas, the idea of a unique value proposition. It's fine to have it, but you have to reach the person, the consumer, with that unique value proposition so they'll recognize it. So we recognize the fact that humans are processors of information into the brain through the senses. So understand that when you're building your brand. There we go. We're also, as consumers, a lot of times we don't want to stand out. If you've ever gone to a movie theater, which we don't anymore, or to an arena where you're going out a set, you see a set of 20 doors, and only one is open and everybody's streaming out of that door. That's because they don't want to stand out. We tend to follow along with others rather than do it
The gentleman in
stand
the
out.
elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality. But little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid campus staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before.
We do not like to stand out. We like to go with the crowd. That's part of the human makeup. So, this is not, keep you going. There we go.
Oh, there it goes.
There's this other idea, which as time has evolved, that marketers have taken advantage of, this idea of combining all these elements of human nature and figuring out what will motivate us to buy or not to buy. And it's called nudge theory. There was a book written back in about 2007 that espoused this theory, and since then we have had different governments that have taken this on because it was deemed to be a process where it was a paternalistic approach to getting people to do things. It was incorporated in lunchrooms in grade schools, where you would place the food you wanted people to really buy, the more nutritious food, at a earlier stage, at eye level. These things were done, but as in anything, this nudge theory was also used to in the private industry. And this is an example of it. If I told you I had Rick Surefire Success Magazine, and the online edition was $19.95, and home edition and online edition was $59.95, a majority of people don't really look at magazines when they get home, so they would opt for the $19.95. If I add a simple additional line of home edition at $59.95, I've increased the sales of the higher number, the $59.95 for home and online, by 17% statistically, simply by adding what to me appears to be a nonsensical addition to that list of options. So the idea of nudge theory is to provide people with options, but you have cast those options in a way that they have to choose from what you have told them is only available. So, going back, as I was saying, we have to look at the evolution of marketing in general in order to understand where we are. The first stages of advertising were utilitarian. Here's the idea of a Ford motor car that you would buy because it's good. It is good, and meaning it is sturdy, it lasts, it will serve you well. That has evolved because of an individual by the name of Bernays, who was Freud's cousin or nephew that moved here to the United States, and he was instrumental in World War I in promoting bonds, people to buy bonds, and he started the first public relations firm. And he's the one that got us to eat breakfast of bacon and eggs, well, the idea is transferred emotion. And that he recognized a long time ago that what you wanted to do to get people to buy is not because it is something they need, but because it's something they desire. And this is the way that you have this evolution of constant changing of the body styles on cars and things like that, because this is going to build a different you if you buy this product.
Is it running out of batteries?
No. The next stage of advertising was where there was a social responsibility that came into play. So marketers started to understand that they need to engage the consumer in such a way that not only played to their ego, but it played to this overall sense of belonging, of having a purpose in life. So this is the idea of having some sort of a social contract. The idea also, to give you another slant on it, is the idea of comfort versus style. The idea of something that's going to be util to you, that you can use, it's sturdy, it lasts, but it's also now transformed into something of style. The current approach is taking all those things we said and focusing down more on, in order to stand out, being able to stand out more on this idea of the map, which is taking people, what is their purpose, what is their desire, and how are you going to engage them to feel as though you share that. Now, I threw up here a business canvas, which we all should be somewhat aware of, but if you look at it, can you see the pointer here? If you look at it, the unique value proposition is here, and your customer that you're going to study is here. And you're going to provide them something that, and looking at those two areas, if you spread them out, you're looking at what are you going to do to relieve a pain or gain something for this consumer of yours. So it's not only their immediate ego, you also are trying to sell them on how you share a common belief. This is what the new branding is doing, that ties and how it ties in with marketing. If you look at Starbucks, mission and values, to inspire, nurture human spirit, one cup, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. That's their mission. They sell coffee, but their mission is much, much broader, and they have let that be known over and over again. It permeates their organization, and that is something that people believe in, and they will pay that extra money and go to those places because of that. Being transparency, dignity, respect, a sense of belonging, and creating a culture. This is what street gangs do. They get you involved. They make you belong and feel as though you are part of something bigger than you are. Ben and Jerry's, they sell ice cream, but they're promoting business practices that respect the earth and the environment, and they really believe in that, and they are strong proponents of that. So they're initiating inventive ways to improve the quality of life locally, nationally, and internationally. The reason this becomes part of your brand and becomes part of your marketing is because you have to get that single thought out into your consumer, into the buyer, so they understand who you are. And to give you a further example of this, if you just think of Nike, you don't think of anything other than the fact that if I put on one of their shirts, I'm going to be stronger. And if I put on their Nike sneakers, I'm going to run faster. I'm going to be healthier if I do something with Nike. The same thing is true of Disney. You have a feeling that they have spent millions of dollars on to branding of family, of belonging, of simpler life. This is a message that is very focused, and it helps build that brand, and they devote a lot of time in continuing that. So to build it, make no mistake, it takes a long time to build a brand. You just don't, those of you who are starting a business or building your business, it takes effort to build the brand. So you can be unique, but you have to be able to explain that to people, not through words, but through the overall strategy and philosophy of the company. So the brand, originally brand, was a mark, like you put on cattle. But the brand is not an it anymore. It's a feeling that you generate inside that customer. And it needs to be constantly managed and focused on in order to maintain that single message to them. So generating content, examples of this would be the role and the of the business and the customer is not simply company and or seller and consumer. It is the idea of getting them involved. Uber, they shift from a driver passenger to a friend. Security, we're always going to be there. They encourage people to get in the front seat, not the back seat. So it is more of a relationship. From the flip side, they get drivers because they want to support entrepreneurs. Aside from the other issues they're doing or that have hit the news, that is the idea that they were founded on. Airlines, you had the old school airlines, Delta, United, but up in front of them came Southwest, where you became or the company was a fun flyer, and you experienced that. You weren't just a passenger that went from point A to point B. You had some fun along the way. So if you are in business, you've probably seen this golden circle. It deserves its point because you should revisit that. The what you're selling, everybody knows that. The how you're going to do it, but why? I use those examples of Starbucks and Ben & Jerry's because they have the why down and they pushed it out so that the people are buying the what. And that's what you want to try to do. So the steps in brand building, it's pretty simple, and I'm going to flash through this in some speed because the brand success is going to have that positive image, but you got to stand out. You have to be above the noise. In order that, I can tell you that you have to spend time on the mission and vision statement. I've been in boardrooms where we have had redefining the company, building it, trying to get out of the slow growth phase, where we spent 2 days, 3 days at a stretch, and then we would split for a week and come back just working on the mission and vision statement. It is not, I sit down, I jot it down, it's over, I know what I'm doing. No, you have to have that clear cut, and you have to put that in words that are simple to understand, that almost becomes your ability to pitch, but it's also a statement that permeates that organization and everyone in that organization knows it. The step 2 is to build that coordinated marketing plan based upon that, keeping always in mind what your vision and mission is. Now, I threw up here some this idea of the colors. Again, spend time on it, because if you just pick out something that you like, a design that you think is cool, you're not listening to your customer. You have to understand, and going back to the the canvas, you have to understand and research your customer, talk to your customer, who it is, and get their input. Understand the industry that you're in and why colors would work in this way or that way. Every one of those, it has a message. And this goes back, by the way, to the way we input sensory information. So everything is important. Everything. Step 3 is, you create marketing that sends the consistent message containing your vision, and it engages that customer and urges them to buy in by feeling that they are important and valuable. That's the key. So step 4 is decide how you get that message out, what platforms to use, how to integrate it. That's the tactical approach, or of your messaging, of your marketing, just getting the nuts and bolts down. Then you launch it, and then step 6 now is even stronger to remain agile, but not confusing. I have worked with companies in New York that changed their marketing plan about every 3 months because they didn't like the way it was working. Needless to say, most of those are out of business because they need to be consistent. People, even if you change a marketing plan, that's fine, but you need to not confuse your consumer. You have to always have that message coming through of who you are and why you are doing it. Again, just focusing on the current environment. Right now, you have uncertainty, fear, confusion. I like this from project management, the idea of unknown unknowns, which are not in your budget, but the known unknowns are in your budget. You need to try to figure out what's going on, and unfortunately, I will tell you, from my perspective, we're in an unknown area. But where people are dealing with that, that's a stressor. The isolation is a stressor. The human aspect is becoming even more important. That's why I almost did a collage of all these, which I've seen one on this, of all the companies that are out there telling you we're in this together. There's every single company is out there that is still putting things on billboards, on radio, TV. They are telling us we're all in this together. There's a reason for that. We are. And that is the human aspect that you have to acknowledge. It becomes even more important as we're moving along. Now, I'm flipping back to this value proposition idea to give you just a refresher on this, that you're trying to deal with two different issues. You're dealing with that pain and that gain. You're trying to provide something that's going to alleviate that, to make them feel better, or to make their lives easier. But you're also doing something else, which is that messaging, your brand, which is going to make them tie to you and have some degree of loyalty to you. And that, if you combine both of those, then you have success. And when I was living in Brazil, we came up, I'll give you one example. It was a medical product. And to give you a little history, the medical product was adopted in all the anesthesiology books in the dental areas, and also, I believe, medical magazine or textbooks. And the injection system was, doesn't matter the detail of it, but it was pretty much 100% accurate, and it caused substantially less pain. The problem was, give you two examples, the epidurals, the miss rate is pretty high on that, about 30%. But when they brought in an expert to test this and this device, and it hits 100% because of pressure measuring, the expert said, "Oh, wow, this is phenomenal. All the new doctors are going to need this, but I don't miss." Then they asked him to do a procedure, and he missed. But that was not enough to convince him to buy this. I went to an event in Paris where it was demonstrated. It was a medical show, and we quizzed this one French doctor who said, "Well, I don't cause pain because I just jab them quickly, and it's over." That's called a dry needle. So that does hurt, but it's an ego issue, and I'm not dissing on the medical profession at all. It is something that they need to be able to do in order to continue to serve people even when they cause pain. But for the dentist, it actually meant business, and they had a big problem. So while I was down there, there was a medical show that we were going to do, and I kept toying with this idea of how do I get past this idea that dentists do not believe they cause pain. So what we did is we went to another aspect of engaging that dentist on our side so that we became a team, and the team would work together. So their sense of belonging, we heightened that. So we took that ego of I don't cause pain, and we turned it into now I'm part of a team, and I actually can make money on this by building my practice. So we went to one dentist. We asked him for a famous, it was a top dentist, somebody relatively famous that was willing to trade the dental service for their picture, and we put their picture up on an ad with "Obrigado, doutora, el sentidor," which I don't feel pain, so I'm not afraid to go to the doctor's office. There was a lot more verbiage there. And then on the sidebar was the picture of the dentist and their practice. We increased sales, from almost zero. We sold about 500 units over 6 months at about $1,500 each because of this ad. And while at the shows, we had dentists coming up and saying, I want my practice to be on the next ad. So you enlisted your client, the purchaser, in your efforts to market. Your brand then became something that was medical, and it was clearly something that would enhance their practice, and they would like to have that. So this is an example of a personal example of what I did in order to try to look through and to give you an example of how much thought and effort needs to go into your branding and your marketing, and to match that story, that brand image, to the marketing. Again, the more recent stuff out there on this brand and marketing in today's world is surviving and being agile. It's a tri-service idea of navigating the now, planning for recovery, and shaping the next normal. And as you see on the very top of the navigating the now is managing that human element. You have to get the purpose out there, what makes you who you are, why you're doing what you're doing. And slowly but surely, if you're consistent, you will continue to build. And you also need, the now is changing every single day. We're seeing openings, closures, increases, decreases, economy up, market up, economy down. All this thing, it is turmoil for the average person. So you need to gauge that now every single day. Keep listening. You have to listen nowadays. And then planning recovery by listening to what people are saying now. You're going to start having a clear understanding of what you need to be doing as you come out of it. And sometimes we have in business, we have this paralysis that we think, oh, well, I don't know anything and I can't make any decisions. Well, don't look at it as paralysis. Look at it as the fact that the person that will make the decision in the future of what the plan is needs to gather information now. So that person doesn't exist. Your job is to listen, take the pulse, and try to manage the now. And let that person who is going to build and shape the next normal do that based on your information and your research you get by listening to your clients. So that's all I wanted to say today, and just to get some questions from you, see what thoughts you had on where you see things going. We have a huge crowd here of about 75 people, if you count everyone as 20. Anyway, any questions? Any thoughts?
Someone's asking if the slides will be available. I can deal with that.
Sure. The slides will be available. Paul will get those out. I know the only slide you want is the candid camera, because that's probably the best slide I've got. Just so you know, I approach all the things I do because as Beth pointed out, the doctor is in psychology, and I've always used that in business, in negotiations, and in trying to understand how to market to people and how to get at what their drives are deep down in order to get them to do something, which is what marketing does, do something they wouldn't ordinarily do. So that's always been a fun thing for me, and I would probably have more webinars and educational things that are in that area on how to negotiate, how to market, and other areas that combine business and psychology.
Why do you think so many people are so bad at marketing and branding? Is it that they're not doing the research, they're not taking the time to focus group and do, listen to the customer, and how is a customer going to tell you what your brand should look like?
Well, focus groups. With answering the last question first, focus groups would do that. An entrepreneur is a rare bird. An entrepreneur is, and we're all entrepreneurs because we've all started businesses, run businesses, whatever. And in order to be an entrepreneur, it's almost that doctor issue, where your ego is that you feel as though I know what I want to get out there, and I know what the customer wants. So, and the only person I've ever heard of that was actually right on that was Steve Jobs, when he was pushing out product that people never heard of that they then needed to have in their life. But for the majority of us, it's that idea of time. It's pushing our own egos down, listening to the customer, listening to the people we've surrounded ourselves with, and trying to dig through and take that time to come up with a clean idea and statement that matches not only what you want to do, but the message, and sometimes it's just the idea of why are you doing it? If it's to make money, that's not a great reason. That should be, we're all motivated for money, yes, to some degree, but that shouldn't be the purpose, because then that loses the energy level that you need as an entrepreneur to continue and to build what you want. So you have a purpose other than the money that gets you up every day. And sometimes for all of us, it can be daunting, because there's days, and one of my definitions of an entrepreneur is that you're the last person to get paid. And that causes you to get up when you're building. But you don't. But if you're really going to be successful, you have to have that firm, belief in what you are doing is more than the money. And I think people get so engaged with that they know what that is, that they're not listening to other people that would actually help them refine that idea. So that's what I think is the issue.
Someone's asking if you can explain the golden circle a little bit more.
The goal, I can go back to that. If this will work for us. There we go. The what is what you're selling. it's pretty simple. That's that outer ring. That's what people see first. And the idea of how is your strategy. That is going to, that unique value proposition, whatever it is, that you are better at than anyone else, and how you're going to promote that out to them. But what people really want, and what a lot of companies still don't know about themselves, is why they're doing it. Going to Beth's point, you have to really start focusing on it. Why are you doing this? Because your customer is going to be asking that question too. And the best way to engage them is to match your why with their why. Could be this, it's a social contract, if you will. And that is, that's a better explanation of the, more detailed explanation of the golden circle. And by the way, the why then permeates the whole organization, permeates your unique value proposition, and it's expressed and understood and felt by the consumer.
I just had a comment on that too. I think the why really hits at the emotional aspect of the business. It's like kind of the reason behind everything, and it connects more with your customer than any other thing.
Yeah.
They don't care as much about what you're selling. They care like why you're doing this, why it's going to affect them, like what feelings they're going to have about it.
Right, and you're seeing a lot of that now, a fallout, because there's so much news out there, and there's so much information that comes to light that didn't in the past because of everything. But you see CEOs that are doing something that's in contrast to what their customers felt who they were, or what that business was, and it's causing some grief. And customers moving away from what they thought was a match, and they've discovered is not what a shared belief.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question. So I'm having a real challenge with doing my own marketing, just because I know my strength is not in writing in English, and so I know that that's a big part of it, but then when I want to turn to someone for them to do it, they don't know what's in my head.
Sure.
And so that's a big challenge. And not only that, is getting out into a market, a new space that's just really come out more in the last few years, which energy healing work, spiritual practice, that type of thing. And so there's not a lot of models, there's not a lot out there, so it's something new that people are creating. And trying to deliver that message in market has been really challenging for me. So I'm just trying to see what approach outside of, the standard, here's how you market, here's your high brand, would be more helpful to understand how to present a new message. Kind of like what the Steve Jobs did, but this isn't, it's not a product, it's a service. So you're trying to sell an idea, a concept, versus here's a Canon, here's a phone type of thing. So what's the best approach for that?
Well, you're hitting on two things, which I think are as important. One is getting that message out, which I'm going to touch on fast, because one of the things we've done here at the SBDC is we just hired in 3 more business advisors. One of them is a social media person who has a vast experience in dealing with social media and promoting Instagram business. She knows all this stuff. So, and then that leads to the question, if you're not an SBDC client, I would become one. Register on utahsbdc.org, and under the Salt Lake City selection is where we have at the Miller campus, and we have these additional sources, but every SBDC across the state is going to be great. And what you get out of that is one-on-one counseling to discuss exactly what you're talking about. People that have done this, people that understand the marketing, can get that information and put it in a form that I think would help you structure and direct your business. And there's other things, not only the one-on-one, but we do these everyday entrepreneur classes. All this thing is geared to exactly what you're trying to do, which is refine your, well, first off, understand who your customer is, and then your unique value proposition, and then how to get that word out. But you have to, in starting up a business like this, you have to not only identify them, you have to make sure they can pay for it and buy it. So you've got to find the right customer base.
I already have customers. I've been doing it for 2 years.
Okay.
I was not promoting or marketing myself. Everyone I have is just word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm officially ready to brand and market myself and put myself out there publicly.
Then you were absolutely right when your preamble is that marketing wasn't your specialty, your focus, but you need that.
Yeah.
So the SBDC, all the counselors, we have experience in that, and we also know how to. We have, some of us have imagination. I think all of us do, but we have imagination. We've done this before, so we will help you through that. And those your tax dollars already paid for. So it's just a matter of signing up and setting up an appointment. We can start working together.
Do you understand your client really specifically? You feel like
yeah.
you have a really, really good handle on who you're marketing to? 'Cause I think sometimes you get lost in not knowing who your customer is, so you don't know how to begin marketing. But you said it's your ability to get it in visual format or verbal format. Is that where you're?
No, it's more the verbal. Like I can do visual really well. It's the verbal. I'm not an editor. I'm not an author. My skill set in school and college was not writing at all. My sister, she'd take anything and you read it and you're like, how did you come up with it? But that's her strength. So I'm willing to acknowledge what my strengths and my weaknesses are. So I don't want to capitalize on a weakness when I can just turn it over to someone else and say, here, this is what your strength is, do it for me. I've just been trying to do it on my own time. The obvious thing for entrepreneurs is, where does my money go? Do I put it in this? Do I put it in this? Do I put it in this? And just strategizing, understanding. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I mean, again, actually, I had the same experience in Brazil because there's no way I would try to write anything out in Portuguese.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
so I was working with a advertising and marketing firm, and it was one day, and about 2 hours, the whole thing came together. So it's a matter of and a lot of times we get stuck on listening to people because they're our friends and we think they're going to tell us the truth, but they'll always temper that. I have a great story where I had somebody in the Czech Republic that was saying that they had found this really great food, cakes and whatever, and actually the bakery over there sold into Domino or whichever one it is that has the lava cakes. But they were they had the whole contract for all of them in Eastern Europe. So this individual said, this bakery is so good, we can sell it in the United States, and I want to import it. He kept saying how everybody that he gave this food to loved it. I said, absolutely, everybody loves free food, but that doesn't mean they'll buy it. So you need to go, and what we did is the University of Arkansas had a taste testing lab that we submitted it to, and it did quite well. The other problem we had was logistics getting the product here. But only then can you start believing, okay, we may have something, because University of Arkansas, it just so happened Walmart is there, and they used the University of Arkansas for their taste testing of products they were bringing into the stores. So you can't rely on just anyone. You have to have this information coming from qualified people that know what they're doing, or situations where you're getting real customers that are going to want to buy your product. And it's not easy to find them that you haven't already tainted them with your personality or whatever. This is why they have focus groups. Focus groups, the best focus groups, you're not in there. That is an impartial person that talks to those potential consumers. So, but there's ways to get to people, like Beth was just saying, to fine tune and to understand even better what people, not only they're using it, but people that if you defined that group, age bracket, beliefs, where they hang out, meaning online, what chat rooms they are, go to those chat rooms and just put hey, anybody interested in talking to me and have this idea. And you get 30 people respond. You got 30 people that you haven't tainted yet. So you're going to get honest responses. And then you take the next step and start, interviewing and talking to them about what you're trying to do. So again, you want honest responses, because IBM can make $1 million mistake. When you're starting up your business, you can't. And it takes a little bit longer to get it right, to get that message down, to play with it over and over, refine it, rewrite it, whatever, understand your customer. But once you have those components, you're going to be in a much better position and a possibility or opportunity for success. Yep.
Yeah. I just had maybe a suggestion, and then we have another question too, okay. But maybe some low-hanging fruit for you is to engage and utilize your existing customers. See if they can post on their social media for you. See if they can give you reviews to build your company credibility. And then I think if they're already into that kind of space and they're already your audience, their friends and family members may also be that audience as well. So it might be some really easy market to go after.
That's not my challenge, because that's why I have a lot of clients. They all promote me.
They do, okay.
My challenge is I'm building my website, right?
Oh, okay.
It is the editing on the website, the verbiage. What do I write? Like, I can speak it and tell you, but those are just basic words. What's going to set me apart, like what you were talking about, make me different than hundreds of other entertainers that are out there. Like, I'm talking about my website, I'm talking about my Facebook and my Instagram that I'm working on. The wording, the verbiage to make it so that it's enticing without just saying, oh, I do this and I can help you with this. As far as once I get my website, my Facebook, Instagram, social media up, then I know how to, like, I will definitely have
it's easy for you to promote and reach out.
And reach out. It's the actual word. I used to actually sell advertising and marketing, but I didn't do it. I sold it for a big company, and then they contract people out who are experts to do it. But when it comes time to having your own business, I know, because I used to talk to people saying, you don't want to be the person that wears the all hats. You're the one that specializes in whatever painting, and this is why you should buy the advertising and marketing package that I'm selling to you. So I get that part of it, but now I'm on the other end going, oh my gosh, now I know why it's hard to be an entrepreneur, to get started, because you're not an expert in everything. I am not an expert at writing things out. I'm very basic. It's like 3 words, and then you go to someone else and they can take it and write it so eloquently and beautifully, and you're like, well, how'd you come up with that? But I know that's where I lack in, and so that's where I'm just, maybe it's like he said, just go to someone who's
you need
an
some
expert
expertise.
and just turn it over. And that's that part of being an entrepreneur, to turn it over and say, I know they're going to go in my head and pull everything out that I need to come out to put it in words. So
Yeah, I think that's where you stand, just getting that out. And polishing up that image, but also I would say that focusing on your unique value proposition. It's not going to come across. I haven't put enough thought into it, but might pop out because there's different types of unique value propositions. One I really loved was in Florida, where it was before the virus hit. They started a barbershop. Well, the unique value proposition is right next door. They could do it there. they cut a hole, and the place next to it was a craft beer spot. So while you wait to get your haircut, you could have a craft beer. Hopefully the barbers didn't drink, but you see, that was a unique value proposition no one else had. So there's these concrete ones, but there's also that message. The unique value proposition is different from that brand messaging, that the why you do this. And you've got a core customer base that has that shared value, but now you need to put it and spend time on writing that out in the mission and the vision statement. Mission being what you're doing, and the vision is where you want to be. Question.
So you may have answered this question, but if you want to talk about it more, feel free. But it's from Michael Perlman. He's asking about agility during the pandemic, and he owns a cleaning and disinfecting business. And he's wondering how to kind of stand out as far as messaging during this time.
Well, it's an established business that is trying to pivot or going back over this thing to handle the now, but look for the change that they need to do in order to come out on the other end with a plan for the future, and then to implement that. What he's talking about is really an assessment. First off, you got to research. You got to find out what's going on, and this I don't know from the question, but you have to understand, well, what's happening with the building industries. I mean, are the buildings, if they're losing tenants and cleaning services are dropping off because of that, that's a reality. That is, you have to streamline in order to be in a position to come back out of it. You also have to, again, not ignore the human aspect of where we are right now. Everyone is hurting. Everyone is uncertain, and they're afraid. So any effort currently should immediately engage the human aspect, the human element of this, and focus on how you care for not only employees, but also those places that you serve, understanding that they have a problem also, and trying to come up with terms to continue to work. If you're actually losing clients because they're closing down, you've got to get out in the market. But I don't know the growth, and that's the research area. I'd be happy to sit down and talk to them if you just email me directly.
Thanks.
Anything else? Well, I think I appreciate the time. That one of the things that hopefully came out here is that this is just not a one-off. We can't answer all the questions in the world or give you all the insights in the world in 35, 40 minutes with Q&A attached. But what we can offer is one-on-one, counseling, business counseling with you to help you weather this, and also, depending on where you are, either to brand or to create, rebrand, or build your business. We've got the expertise in those areas. There's all of us, I would say, have had that entrepreneurial aspect of our lives where we have gone through this. This isn't the first, it is different, but it's not the first downturn that we've all dealt with these things. So innovation and perseverance, and we're here to help you. And like I say, tax dollars already paid for it. I would go to SBDC, UtahSBDC.org, and sign up, and start attending these types of things, and also, more importantly, get the one-on-one where you have expertise. Because I will tell you, I can be friendly, but I'm not your friend. If you come in with an idea and it doesn't make sense to me, you're going to have to prove it. And I will do research to help you prove that. But if I find research that says this is something that they're missing something, I'm going to tell you that too. And all of us will do that because it's our job to make you successful, not to say yes to you. Which is an advantage because I can't tell you how many people I hired as advisors that I was paying. And it just dawned on me one day that I was paying everyone and they were all saying yes. That's not what you want. You can't afford that. So again, UtahSBDC.org. Thank you. Appreciate it.